3, 2, 1, we start. It's a little bit uneasy to not be moving, but okay. Hi, I am Alex Gazis. I am a PhD candidate in Democratic University of Thrace, Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. The main subject of my presentation will be about serious games. Serious games, as we will see in the next slides, are digital games that do not focus on entertainment, but rather on learning aspects. As such, the overview of the presentation will be as follows. We will have a brief discussion regarding what is a digital game, what are the categories of digital games, and what tools we use for development, what game engines to be exact. Then we will define what is a serious game, see some of the historic stuff, what was the first serious game that has been introduced and such. And lastly, we will see about ePolis, a research project where we have developed a serious game regarding sociological surveys. Instead of having questionnaires ABCD, we have a digital world, and via such we get the data that we want. And lastly, we will talk 2-3 slides, very slightly, regarding the middleware. Let's say how we segregate the game engine in order to have these components work on our favor. So I will talk, there's a lot of slides, 30 something, but most of them are just theory. We'll talk on them about, we won't talk a lot about them. First of all, what is a digital game? I say digital and not game in general because we want, as I said, a serious digital game. We want something to be interactive. So let's talk regarding digital games first. Digital game, as the theory shows, is a computer platform where two or more players play. Okay. What we want to know is why someone builds a digital game. There are two ways to build a game. Either the commercial, meaning, okay, someone will play, will have fun, and will pay for it. And second, we will not do it for the money, we'll do it for learning purposes. As such, usually digital games are derived in two categories: commercial, which are non-serious games, and serious games. What means serious game? Serious game means that a game must have a certain didactic teaching approach, or at least provide the opportunity for someone to learn. For example, let's say you play Flight Simulator. Flight Simulator means you need to learn how to control a stick. Let's say, as we'll see in the next slide, for example, playing Diablo, I will say to you. This means someone will have to interact, we have to have a dialogue, we have an interactive experience. So before getting into games, the first thing we need to know is what is the profile of a player playing a game. There are two types of players. The first are the core players, as we say, and the second ones are the casual players. Core players are someone who is not so much about learning, is so much about winning a certain quest, a certain level, meaning he enjoys increased difficulty, he can overcome multiple objects, and he likes to be competitive. Thus, if we have a core player, we need to have some sort of showing to him what the other players did, or have some reward system in order to gamify the experience. Whereas the casual player is someone who just plays a game and likes most of the time just the experience, the graphics, to pass the time. There are many categories of digital games, many genres. Basically, what we can segregate them is into strategy games. Someone gives you some resources, you have to manage them optimally. The second category is RPGs, real role-playing games, meaning the same thing, but you have to develop a character, a profile, some equipment. You have some sort of reward system. Multi-role-playing games, which means there is a world where we interact with each other. And the last two categories, which are usually serious games, simulation games, meaning someone has to teach you, as I said, the flight simulator, someone has to teach you the laws of physics, or has to teach you some real-life constraints, or government simulation games, which is similar to what I told you, but you don't have the freedom of choice. We want to have, as I would say, supervised learning, to tell you this is the correct action, this is the not the correct action to do. Here I have some examples. Basically, someone later on sees the presentation to know what is its category. We won't go much on this. So, we have told what is a game in general, we have defined it. We have told you what are the types of player, how can we develop a game, a digital game. Similar with before, there are two ways. The traditional way with bricks and stones, as we say, do it all by yourself, or the more modern approach to have a framework, to have an all battery included software bundle, which in our case scenario is what we call game engines. So what is a game engine when we develop a game? A game engine is basically something that provides convention of the configuration, meaning I will give you all the tools you need. It's not about you having to think about how you will implement the player movement, how you will implement the graphics, how there will be a hierarchy of game objects and such. I'm running through this because it's just theory for me. It's not the most important thing of this presentation. So what are the most popular engines? Just the names you want to know. There are 4 categories of game engines: Open Simulator, Unreal Engine, CryEngine, and Unity. All of these are tools to develop a digital game and a serious game as well. From these 4, as well as Godot, which is a Google implementation, rather modern, of the last 5 years or so, most of the games, over 50%, are in 2 game engines: Unreal Engine, okay, you can see my arrow, Unreal Engine and Unity Engine. So, in our case scenario, as we're going to explain the game, why did we choose Unity over the others? First of all, I know the letters are not that big, but almost all of these game engines are pay to use. And when we say pay to use, are 2,000–3,000 euros per developer. Regarding of what game you are going to develop, you need to think about what engine you will use. For example, Unity, which is what we have chosen here, is one of the most known popular game engines. First of all, because it provides, when building a game, serious or digital, platform independency, meaning you can make an application and then extract it into Android, into Linux, into UIL, into any operating system. Secondly, provides full opportunities for a developer to see all the available objects, meaning if you do not have earnings more than $100, you have the full spectrum of its features. Okay, so the first part of the presentation with this, the defining a digital game. Let's see what is a serious game yet again from a more in detail approach. So, serious games means having entertainment in a game, but using it as a means to learn something, to provide a learning concept to someone. The term was firstly introduced, coined, in the late 60s, specifically with this thing, the brown box example. If you see this old thing and the checkers they play here, and go to the left image, we can see that the first time we had a serious game was something that had the same thing we have now. 2 controllers, each controller has a button, and on it you can connect and have some sort of multiplayer. When I say multiplayer, I mean multiple players, obviously not online in that season. This thing, I will tell you, it's nothing. It's someone playing, it doesn't have a sort of learning experience. This specifically was designed in order for the soldiers to know how to use radar sensors. That's why if you see it has 2 buttons. Instead of pressing it, you do it like this. So, what about our serious game, or why it was developed, or what exactly does it have? The whole rationale behind it is this is a joint project between Democritus University of Thrace and National and Kapodistrian University of Athens. And the whole rationale was we want to make a survey. More specifically, we want to see if some people are on the right wing, on the left wing, and we also want to gamify the experience and also not force feed them into what we want them to be, we want them to see, but see if you were supposed objected to a question and you selected the second answer. If you saw that the other guy selected the first answer and the third answer, would that change your modus of how you think? So, with this in mind, we developed e-polis, electronic polis, digital polis. Polis means city in Greece. What exactly is this? We navigate through a city. This city has certain quests, which, since it is a sociological survey, it's certain dilemmas. And these dilemmas all of these dilemmas have to be answered to the player. And later on, we provide a basic data mining and processing analysis. What we also did in order to show the player and not have some technical reasons of having a spider diagram or something like that, was when the player finishes a level, a scene, as we call it in game development, we go to a higher view from above and look at the city and how it was made. For example, if someone is total leftist, let's say, a city will have less structures, less building, and will have a lot of more green stuff or more people. This is not from us, it's from the Department of National University of Athens. I will have some brief photos in the end of the presentation as well. So what are the characteristics that we wanted? We wanted, based on our mind that we have a questionnaire and we want to simulate it in the computer game, we wanted to have the questions as quests, okay? We wanted to, since it is a serious game, it is for not entertaining but learning reasons, to be sure that there are no correct or incorrect answers. So the player must answer all the questions, but we will not judge them. Thus, when developing the game, there is no reward system, for example, 30 points, 50 points. There's just a small counter of how many questions are left to finish the game. And lastly, which is what is in our serious game, the technical novelty, since I've told you answering each question and in the end he sees a blueprint of the city and how it was made, we made a scene transition mechanism, meaning when we change level, we save in the GPU some of the core graphics in order to show him how the level was introduced and how it was made after the end of the level. So, as we told you previously, it is developed in Unity. It also has some sort of middleware meaning we took the convention over configuration approach, but also made two abstract levels. One for getting some data from the player answers and actions. And secondly, to have some sort of interaction with the player, since we're playing with the graphics of the game, loading of the RAM or unloading when we show him. In technical terms, this is called lazy loading. We load what the player sees, not what is in all the level. The game, the level we have made was based in here, Athens, Monastiraki area, Agia Sirini, Saint Irene, I think it's in English, square. This is the actual from Google. And this is what we tried to do. If you see here, we have, think about it this way, we have the church, and here we can see the world. This is one quest, mainly for the presentation. We have purposely, if you see here, you see some graphics, we have tried to make it look like a dystopian city or graphics, so as not to be exact where we walk, how we will, not someone playing and saying how I would want Athens to look like, but rather be a mode-free game. So you can move currently with keystrokes, WASD, arrows, or your mouse, but the whole point is having VR glasses. So what you see here, which is a view from above via camera, will be POV, point of view. And while the player is moving inside the town, he will present some quest. This is here, for example, one quest, and here is close to it. First and foremost, you cannot skip a quest. You can see it for a long time, you can think about how you will answer it, but if we have 3 quests, 7 quests, whatever questions, you need to answer them in order to complete the game. So when you go near him and you go to his point of view, you are presented with the questions I told you before, which are given by the sociological department. For example, if you see here, we have a homeless man and 3 police officers, law enforcement officers, as we call them officially. When you go near, you have, for example, the option, police is arguing over a homeless man who stays in town without permission. Would you help him? Would you congratulate him? I don't really care. The I don't really care also option is not so much existent. Most of the times the players have to choose something in order to build their profile. After that, if you finish the level, this is for example the first level, let's say it had 3 quests and not the one that I've shown you. Each time in each level we have put something that does not exist in Greece, this red phone booth, I guess from England, in order when you do it to go to another level, to another scene. When you complete all the quests, you go and see something like that. You go to this, the right square, and see how you have modified the city. If you have added new buildings, if you have destroyed someone. If, for example, let's say here you choose congratulate the police, you will see that this quest meaning the homeless man, the police authorities will disappear from the view from above. This is early stages since it's a beta game, but the whole purpose and the whole idea, for us at least, is not so much to say what is the player's profile, but for us to see how the city is created. In order to do that, apart from building the graphics, we wanted to the other team give some data to provide the political behavior of this. I'm seeing the time, we have 5 minutes also. This means that we wanted a database with two things. First and foremost, the easiest thing, we wanted to have the players answer what was presented to you and what have you answered. Second of all, we also wanted to see what are the points of interest and what is the footprint for each quest. For example, in this point of the game, you have to answer our quest. If you didn't want to answer a quest, or if we purposely given you the same quest 2 or 3 times, just to see if you would try to avoid it, or you would think about it, or you would take more time for this quest to answer it. As such, when the player moves, apart from what he answered, we have put in small blocks, mesh grid we say it, where each time he presses, he clicks, a beam is sent, so we take exactly both his head rotation, what he looks and how much time he looks it, as well how he is moving into the system we have put, in the terrain meaning. This means we have actions. Actions means what he answered, how he answered it, how much time he given. We also have, as I tell you again, the same dilemmas, the same questions, a little bit different each time. And in second time, we have X, Y, Z, because he can jump. We will add also stairs in the next levels, as well as this quaternion, which means it is a mathematical representation of his head rotation, meaning how he, if he looks up, down, right, to the left. Regarding this game, this serious game, and what is our novelty and what we have built in, not using simply the Unity engine and providing some graphics. First and foremost, in sociological surveys, there's not an easy way to say qualitatively if something is good. Thus, we try to not have only a profile, but try to see if the profile that are derived after the data analysis are close to the city and how it is determined. How its city is supposed to be determined, how the questions are made, is not part of our electrical engineering, it's from our associates in this research program. Secondly, regarding the technical aspect, since this is a serious game, we didn't focus so much regarding about providing the best graphics, but rather having a low power and low cost solution, meaning we want an executable file, either in iOS or Windows, that will not need a lot of RAM and will be easy to use, meaning we wanted to have something that's less of 200, 300 megabytes of RAM to execute, or that would be executed in an old PC, let's say a Chromebook, for example. This means we wanted to do a versatile and low resource demanding either database or SQL database approach. And secondly, which is the most important thing in our case scenario that we also expand on our research paper, is that we wanted a new scene transition mechanism. I told you previously that we did something that's called lazy loading, meaning for each time a player is presented the quest, it's like destroying, or to be exact, moving all the graphics from the RAM to the SSD in order to provide a more smooth experience for the player. Other than that, because we wanted this to be a solution where other researchers could also implement it, we also developed a middleware, which middleware is a term used in the 80s and means fusion of software, meaning we took the already existing Unity approach, meaning we have some assets, the things we use in a game, some prefabs, the things we have put in a bundle and we use it over and over, and provided 3 extra layers. Apart from the engine layer, which is what only the Unity provides, we've put in a platform layer, which is the actual gameplay, derives of the scripts, of the code, of the logic someone has used to develop his game, as well an application layer and a data acquiring layer, application game layer meaning, where we try to segregate concerns regarding data acquiring and how in Unity the hierarchy of game object is connected. As such, and I finish my presentation, the whole reason or rationale behind this game is that it's really difficult if you don't want to say this people is right, this people is left, to have a total answer, to try and have a universally acceptable way of measuring the influence. As such, even if a spider graph is made or a, I don't know, 2D representation, we need something to validate the what we call ground truth. For example, someone analyzed it, we need to say, yes, our analysis shows the same. That's why you have developed the blueprint of the city based on your actions. Secondly, apart from the quantitative methods, we needed some qualitative methods, meaning we will need also actions, data, questions. We need to have more information about this thing. We also developed a new middleware, meaning a new feature, let's say in Unity game engine. We also provide the code of our implementation to the research paper, and a new Novice transition mechanism if someone wants to make his game a little bit low on resource demanding. And the future step is first of all to have an online version of our game. The questions must be played by new levels. Currently we only have 10 to 15 testers, which is not the best case scenario because they have played the game a lot of times. And expand, have new levels. In order to see, we are looking in the next 6 months to have 3 to 4 new levels in order to finish the project based on the deliverables. This is part of the paper, and this was the presentation. Mainly focused on serious games. I hope you like it.